Okay, good evening. Good to see all of you, those of you who made it out again. Again, my name is Yoel Oz. I gave a shiur a couple of weeks ago called Kabbalah for Rationalists, and so I was really honored to be invited back. And I'll be continuing on the topic. The whole original thing was, well, what is mysticism? What is Kabbalah? What does it mean to be a rationalist? What does it mean to think about these things, and how to approach the sources? And in the last shiur, we did an analysis of verses dealing with prophecy, and prophecy sort of being the model of mysticism. Welcome. And so prophecy sort of being the key question of, like, how does the divine interact with us? And then essentially, even if you're a rationalist, you're a Maimonidean, prophecy is still something that you still have to deal with. Revelation, we're even if you're trying to stay as far away from mysticism as possible, you still have that those elements. And not only that, but that the Tanakh says, specifically in the book of Yoel, that prophecy will return in the future. That v'achareichen eshpoch et ruchi al kol basar v'nibu b'nechem u'bnotechem ziknechem chalamot yachlamun v'achareichen chezionot yiru v'gam al avadim al hashvachot b'yamim hahema eshpoch et ruchi. I will pour out my spirit on all flesh, meaning not just Jews, but all of humanity. Your sons and daughters shall prophesy, children. Your elders shall dream dreams, and your youth shall see visions. I will even pour out my spirit upon male and female slaves in those days. And then after that, we looked at some of the sources about whether it's permitted to study what's called Ma'aseh Merkava, the image of the chariot in Ezekiel and Yechezkel, which is considered one of the biggest prophetic sections of Tanakh, and most mysterious and most difficult to understand. And then let me keep the flow of sources here. The two sources. One is the Hebrew, and the other is the next page. And then we looked at some of the earliest sources of Kabbalah, the Sefer Yetzirah we looked at, and how it talks about the concept of Sefer, Sfar, V'Sipur, the three terms that they're Eser Sfirot, the 10 Sfirot, and the 32 pathways, Pliot Chochmah, that God created the world with, which were the 22 letters and the 10 numerals. Then we looked at the Bahir, and we looked very briefly at the Tikkunei Zohar, which has a section called Petichat Eliyahu, the introduction when Eliyahu Hanavi comes and speaks and teaches the idea that Ribon Alamin, the Antu Chad Velo Bechushban, Antu Ilah Al Kol Ilah, that you are the God, eternal, hidden master of all worlds. You are the one who is above all, unity of unities. And so we ended with that. So that was sort of to give us like a foundation of some of the basics of the basic texts of Kabbalah, some of the basic ideas. In the days after that, I came across a book called Likutei Yam HaChochmah. It's called Pnimiyut HaKabbalah. It's a collection of the writings of Rabbi Yitzchak Meir Morgenstern. He's also known as Rabbi Itcher Meyer Morgenstern. He's alive. He's a Rebbe. He's a Kabbalist in Yerushalayim. He has a yeshiva called Yeshiva Toras Chacham, and they say he's the real deal. I know people who have met him, and that he's really, and his farm, his output is absolutely voluminous. He's a master in what they say both Nistar and Nigla, the hidden and the revealed parts of the Torah. I davened in his Beit Midrash once. He's He's a very special person. And so in the introduction, I found the book. So in the introduction to the book, he talks specifically about, not this one over here. He talks specifically about learning Kabbalah and how one goes about studying Kabbalah. And it was sort of like boom, wow, this is exactly in response to what I was doing. So I figured before we started, read this, and it's related to this next section. So this page over here, the very beginning, Amitat limud hasod hu rak ba'ofen shel gilui elokut. The truth of the learning of the secrets of the Torah is only in a way where there is a revelation of elokut, of godliness, of the divine. What does that mean? Okay, so Amitat Kabbalah hirak limud im or eloki or hayuchud. So this class is called the Or Ein Sof. So all of a sudden we're already starting to see that what are we talking about if we're studying Torah Tasod, if we're studying these parts of the Torah, it has to have that divine light involved in it. We can only learn it with the Or Eloki, which he calls the Or HaYichud, the Or of the light of unity. Halimud bekitvei ha'arizal u'sh'ar sifrei Kabbalahu. Okay, studying the writings of the Arizal and all the other works of Kabbalah. Or hamilubash bilevush. It is a light that is enclosed in clothing. Ve'ein dai lilmod rak et halevush. And it's not enough just to study the garments, the clothing. Ela tzarich lechapes et pnimiyut hamichuvan shel haKabbalah. But one has to search inside for the internal part that's the intention of the Kabbalah. Shehu sod or hayichud, which is the secret of the light of unity. So it's not enough just to talk about it in the abstract. It's not enough. So I'm saying, okay, we're going to talk about it as rationalists. That's not enough. Ukvar bi'er bazeh Rabbeinu Tzadok HaKohen miLublin. Reb Tzadok HaKohen of Lublin was a major Hasidic Rebbe in the 19th century in Poland. Wrote, Ech matzinu badorot ha'acharonim shelomdim Kabbalah berabim. He said that we see that people are studying Kabbalah in public. V'harei amru b'Mishnah, and was taught in the Mishnah, which we learned last time. Are we even allowed to be studying these things? Ein dorshin b'merkava b'yachid. Ela im kein haya chacham umevin midato. You don't teach of the Maser Merkava except with one individual who's already a chacham and who is able to learn things and understand things from his own knowledge. Ubi'er, and Reb Tzadok explains, she'amitat mesirat sitrei Torah eina halimud hachitzoni gufa. The truth of the Mesirah, the giving over of the secrets of the Torah, is not just the external learning. Ki limud haKabbalah eino limud sichli greda. It's not just an intellectual activity. It's not something just for our minds. Elahu etzem hahasaga be'elokut. But what it really is, it's in essence the attempt to grasp and to hold on to the elokut, to the divine. And that which is taught in public is just the externals. It's not the deeper, the inner part. And the book is called Pnimiyut HaKabbalah, the inside, the internal workings. So it's even with Kabbalah, which is considered, the Kabbalists call it Pnimiyut HaTorah. It's getting Pnimiyut of the Pnimiyut, that everything that we're doing, that it should be going deeper and deeper and deeper. Okay, but the term that we kept seeing was the term or. And so I really felt that that's actually the first question that I had when I started this series was, okay, where do you start? Do you start historically? Do you start conceptually? And so to me it seemed that the place that you start is with Nevuah, and then also a little bit of the historical sources of Kabbalah. But really the essence of the whole mystery, and this is the reason I got into this, was because I knew people who, I can't explain it, but there was a certain light that was shining on them. You could see it in their faces, you could see it in the way that they interacted with people, the way that they, just a certain kind of lovingness with all human beings, with all creation, a certain kind of just peace equanimity, hishtavut, I think is the word in Hebrew. And so it's like you've seen these people who it's like, oh, he's seen the light. No, like you could see that these people, the light that they had seen is still reflected on their faces. So it seemed to me that this idea of light is really at the essence of what we're trying to get out. And so the question is, what exactly is the light of God? What is this? We call it Or Ein Sof, the infinite light. And so we're going to go through some sources that deal with this concept of Or and how the encounter with God is one that is supposed to result in the light, us experiencing the light and the light shining upon us. Just a second. All right, so the first source is from Yalkut Shimoni. It's on these sources, which is a collection of midrashim on the Torah. It's in Hebrew. Does anybody want to read? Okay, go ahead. Sha'al Andrinus.
Sha'al Andrinus Kisa Rabbi Yehoshua. Amar lo yesh adon leolam. Amar le yechi olam shel hafkerhu. Amar lo umi baras shemayim ba'aretz. Amar lo hakadosh baruch hu shenemar b'reshit bara v'gomer.
Okay, so Andrinus Caesar, Caesar, or the emperor of Rome, when he met Rabbi Yehoshua, he said, "Is there a master of the world?" And he said to him, "Is this a world of hefker where everything just happens by happenstance?" So he said, "Okay, so who created the heavens and the earth?" So he says to him, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, God created the heavens and the earth. As it says, Bereshit bara Elokim, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Right? Continue, Amar.
Amar lo, v'lama eino niklas shtei pamim b'shana k'dei shi'ir'u b'riyot v'kayem ekol aleichem.
Okay, so then he says to him, he is the emperor, meaning people don't see the emperor, people don't see the king. So why doesn't God at least reveal himself twice a year so that everybody should at least have fear of him, that they should have a feeling of that there is this king, that there is this God, there is this figure, just like he himself, he's the emperor. So okay, I have to reveal myself to my people so that they know that I exist and so that they should fear me. So why doesn't your God reveal himself? Continue.
Amar lo, lefi she'ein ha'olam yachol la'amod bezivav.
Zivo.
Zivo, shne'emar, ki lo yir'eni ha'adam achai.
Okay, he says because the world cannot exist, or cannot withstand the rays of his light, his ziv, the radiance of his light, as it says, ki lo yir'ani ha'adam achai. Man cannot see me and live. Okay, so continue. Okay, so sorry. He said, if you don't show me this God, I won't believe you. This is a great thing. And everybody says, where's your God? Show me your God. Okay, let's see God. Right? Okay, so he took him in the middle of the day and he put him up against the sun, and he said to him, "Look at the sun, and you will see him." And he said to him, "So who can withstand looking at the sun?" So he said, "Who can look at the sun?" Amar lo v'lo yishmeu oznecha ma shepicha medaber. Do you not listen to what your own mouth said? What is it the case with the sun that it is 1,000th of 1,000th of 10,000th of all of the servants that serve God, and they can't withstand the light of God. The light of God itself, alachat kama v'kama, which is malei olam, we cannot possibly be able to see what the true light of God is. So this is how the Midrash appears in the Yalkut Shimoni. Thank you. What's your name?
Avital.
Avital. Thank you, Avital. And there's a similar Gemara in Masechet Chulin. So Amar le Kesar. Okay, here it doesn't say which emperor. The Rabbi Yoshua ben Chananya. It says specifically, it tells you which one. Ba'ina di'chazi la Elohaichu. I want to see your God. Amar le lo matzit chazit le. He says to him, you can't see him. Amar le ibra chazina le. He says, I really want to see him. Azal okme lahade yoma b'tkufat Tammuz. He took him out in the middle of Tammuz, which means the summer. Amar le istakil be. He says, take a look at the sun. Amar le lo matzina. He says, I can't look at the sun. Amar le yoma dechad meshamshe dekaime kame dekut shabrichu amrat lo matzina lo istakla be shchina lo kol shekain. Okay, the emperor said, now if with regard to the sun, which is only one of the servants that stand before the Holy One, blessed be He, you say, I cannot look at it, is it not all the more so with regard to the divine presence? So basically the same idea. So again, this idea is that God is not just brighter than the sun, but that it's something that like we can't even begin to connect to, but that is the original imagery that is supposed to connect us to what God is. That when we try to look at the sun, that's the experience of the first step, as it were, of what it means to experience the light of God. So we have works called the Zohar. Zohar means radiance. The Bahir we talked about, which is one of the earliest works of Kabbalah. So they come from the titles of the books come from psukim in Tanakh. So we have the very bottom over here, Daniel. So on the top of the next page, v'hamaskilim yazhiru kizohar harakia umatzdike harabim kakochavim laolam va'ed. So the knowledgeable, those who know. Who know wisdom, who know God, will be radiant like the bright expanse of the sky, and those who lead the many to righteousness will be like the stars forever and ever. So here's this idea, kizoar harakia. The word zohar is that they will shine like the light of the sky. And the word bahir comes from a verse in Eo, from the book of Job. V'ata lo ra'u or ba'ir hu bashchakim. Now one cannot see the sun. V'ruach avra v'tarem, though it be bright in the heavens, until the wind comes and clears them of the clouds. Meaning, so it's bahir. It's an or bahir, a clear light. In the beginning of the Sefer HaBahir, which is the reason it quotes this verse, Amar Nechunya ben Akana, Katuv Echad Omer v'ata lo ra'u bahir hu bashchakim. So there's one verse that says they didn't see this clear light in the heavens. V'katuv Echad Omer yash choshech sitro, that God is hidden in darkness. And v'omer, and another anan v'arafel savivav, and that clouds and fog are around God. Kasha, this is a question. What does this mean? Ba katuv shlishi v'yichriya beinehem. So this is a common idea in midrashic and rabbinic literature. We have two verses that seem to contradict each other, so we wait for a third verse that will resolve the contradiction. So what is the resolution? Gam choshech, as it says, Gam choshech lo yachshich mimcha. This is in Tehillim. V'layla kayom ya'ir kachashecha ke'ora. Even darkness will not make you dark, and nighttime will be filled with light, as if there is light within the darkness. Right? So again, we keep coming back to this theme of light. Okay, so let's go back to the beginning. So we all know the beginning of the Torah. What's the first thing that's created? The first thing that's created is light. That's on day 1. Day number 4 is the creation of the sun. So the light that's created on the first day of creation is not the same light as the light of the sun. So let's just look at it quickly. Vayomer Elohim yihi or, vayihi or, let there be light, and there was light. Vayar Elohim et haor ki tov, vayavdel Elohim bein haor uvein hachoshech. And that God saw the light ki tov. We'll see that phrase come up a little in a second. And God separated between the light and the darkness. So this idea of light as kitov also appears in a section also with the idea of the light shining on someone with Moshe Rabbeinu 2 times. One when Moshe Rabbeinu is born, and later when Moshe Rabbeinu comes down from Har Sinai. So he already has this light. We'll see it in a second. Somebody want to read the beginning of this? Shmot Vatar Aisha. You want to?
ותהר האישה ותהלל בן ותראה אותה כי טוב הוא ותצפנהו 3 ירחים.
Okay, so the woman conceived and gave birth, and she saw ki tovhu, that he was tov, and she hid him for 3 months. So let's look at the next, turn the page. Okay, Bisha, you want to continue? Bisha shenolad? Sota, Masechet Sota, Yud...
בשעה שנולד משה נתמלא הבית כולו אור. כתיב האחר ותראה אותו כי טוב הוא. וכי הטעם וירא אלוקים את האור כי טוב.
Okay, so at the time that Moshe Rabbeinu was born, the entire house was filled with light. As it says over here, Vatera oto ki tovu, that he is tov, he is, and uchtiv hatam, and it says with the creation of light, vayar Elohim et haor ki tov. Okay, so again, the same thing. This is when Moshe Rabbeinu is born. So there's already something special about this child, even at the very beginning. And then he only grows more and more and more as he gets older. And we'll see what happens to him after he comes down from Mount Sinai. Somebody want to read the next source? You want to read? Go ahead. Sinai.
ושני לוחות חדות ביח משה מרתות במנחה ומשה לא ידוע כי קרנות פניות בדברות.
Okay, great. And Moshe came down from Mount Sinai, and the 2 tablets of the covenant were in his hands from when he came down. And Moshe did not know that the skin of his face was shining from the fact that God spoke to him. The Midrashim have a play on this, that it's or panav, or with an ayin, but it can also be pronounced, if you don't have the Temanim ayin, or is or with an aleph. So and this is also used in regards to Adam and Chava in Gan Eden. It says that they were given kotnot or. They had coverings or clothing made of skins. The rabbis teach that it's not just of skin or, but that they were enclothed in light. We'll see a little bit more about the light of Gan Eden in a bit, but that play on or and or as it appears over here. So his face was shining. Vayar Aharon v'chol bnei Yisrael et Moshe v'hinei karan or panav. Again, as we saw, that Aaron and all bnei Yisrael saw that his light was shining. Vayiru migeshet elav, and they were afraid to approach him. Okay, so Ibn Ezra, who is not a Kabbalist, or is pre-Kabbalist, so he comments on this verse, Moshe lo yadaki karan or panav b'dabro ito. Hatam, the reason, b'daber ito Hashem, that Hashem spoke to him. V'zeh ba'avur shenir'ah hakavod al panav, and because the glory of God came upon his face, al kain hizhiru kizoar harakia. He shined like the sky, like the sun in the sky. Okay, so this again, we're already seeing these are not quote Kabbalistic sources. These are just basic midrashic Talmudic sources, and we're going to see this again in the next source. Okay, the next source comes from Masechet Nida, and this is a section that deals with it's a lot of agadot about the fetus inside the womb of his mother, and this particular one is very interesting. It says, "V'ner daluk al rosho." So there's v'tzofeh umabit misof ha'olam ve'ad sofo shene'emar ba'alo nero alai roshi le'oro elech choshech. Okay, so it's a verse in Eov that says, when his lamp shined above my head, and by his light I walked through darkness. So what is this talking about? What is this when God's light shined above my head? So according to this Gemara, this is talking about when a fetus is inside the womb of his mother, there's a candle that's lit above the head of the fetus, and with the light of that candle, he can see from one end of the world to the other. So this light, so again, like going back to Moshe Rabbeinu, this light, or this primordial, this infinite light that you can see from one end of the universe to the other end of the universe, it's already inside every single one of us before we're even born. And Moshe, it just happens to be, when he was born, that light continued to shine. But we'll see this concept of the light that shone from one end of the world to the other end of the world appear in another. There are three midrashim. I only picked one, and we'll see it later appear in the Zohar and some later texts. But this idea that the light, it's a different kind of light that we're talking about. We're not talking about the light of the sun. The sun is like a mashal, the sun is like a parable for the light, but we're not even getting close to the kind of light that as I'm looking up at the fluorescent lights, and I'm like, light, but, it's light, but we're not even getting close to like what the kind of light that we're really, really trying to get at. But let's try. Shachar, do you want to read?
Sure.
Okay, Bereshit Rabbah, Amar Rabbi Yehuda.
אוקיי, אמר רבי יהודה בר סימון, אותה האורה שנברא בעולם, אדם הראשון עמד והביט בה מסוף העולם ועד סופו.
Okay, so the Rabbi Yehuda bar Simon said that light which God created the world, Adam Harishon was able to stand, the first man who was able to stand and look from one end of the world into the other. Okay, continue. Kevan.
כיוון שראה הקדוש ברוך הוא מעשה דור אנוש ומעשה דור המבול ומעשה דור הפלגה שאין מקולקלים, עמד וגנזו מהם שנאמר וימנע מרשעים אורם.
Okay, so there was this light, but then God decided to hide it after the sins of the generation of Enosh. They were the first ones to commit idolatry. The generation of the flood, the generation of the Tower of Babylon. So God went and he hid them, and based on this verse, Vayimana mirisha'im oram, he put away, he withheld light from the Risha'im, from the wicked. Okay, continue.
ולמה גנזו? אלא גנזו לצדיקים לעתיד לבוא, שנאמר וירא אלוקים את האור כי טוב, ואין טוב אל הצדיקים, שנאמר אמרו צדיק כי טוב.
Okay, so he hid it for the tzaddikim in the world to come, as it says, "Vayar Elokim et ha'or ki tov." Again, ki tov. Ve'ein tov. What is tov? Tov is tzaddikim. As a verse in Yeshayahu says, "Imru tzaddik ki tov." Say of the righteous person that he is good. Okay, continue.
ומניין שגנזו לצדיקים, שנאמר ואורך צדיקים כאור נוגה. וכיוון שראה אור שהוא גנוז לצדיקים שמח, שנאמר ואור צדיקים ישמח.
Okay, and so where do we know that it was hidden for the tzaddikim? So we'll see later that the Zohar uses a different verse. But here it says, V'orach tzaddikim ke'or noga, that the path of the righteous is like this dawning light. And that v'kevan shera or shehu ganuz latzadikim samach, and that when he saw that the light was hidden away for the righteous, he rejoiced, as it said, at the light of the righteous he will rejoice. So we're running around these concept of hidden light and simcha. Anybody out of curiosity know of a pasuk? We're gonna see it in a second that talks about hidden light and simcha. Bingo. Or zarua la tzadik ul yisrael simcha. The light is planted, as it were, in the ground for the tzaddik, for the righteous. Ul yisrael, and those who are straight of heart, there will be joy. We say this on Ashkenazim have the custom to say this 7 times on Leil Yom Kippur, or Zarua Latzadik, Lishayle, Simcha. Okay, so I'll read this section from the Zohar. So the Zohar talks about this verse. Okay, Vayomer Elohim Ktiv Vayomer Elohim Yihi Or Vayihi Or. Okay, we don't have to keep repeating that. Amar Rabbi Yosef Hahu Or Itkaniz Vi'ihu Izdaman Legabe Tzadikaya La'alma Da'ati. That that light which is hidden and which is set aside for the tzaddikim in the world to come. Kimad akmuha, as it is said, dichtiv, or zarua latzadik, that a light was planted for the tzaddik. Latzadik vadai stam, okay, for absolute righteous person. V'hahu or lo shimesh ba'alma. This is an interesting thing. And that light God did not use at all. Bar Yom Kadma, except for the first day. Ulevatar itkaniz v'lo shimesh yatir. And afterwards, he hid it and didn't use it anymore. The medrash that we read from before said that God hid it at the time of the sinning of Dor Hamabul, Dor Haflaga, Dor Enosh. This is saying no. This light was, or the light that we're talking about here, was hidden after it was used the first day. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, and he says, Ilmale itkaniz mikol v'chol. If this light had not been hidden away, lokaim alma afilu riga chada. The world could not exist for even one moment. That this light was is so powerful. Ela itkaniz v'izdira kehai zara da'avi toladin uzrain ve'evin. But rather, it was hidden and planted in the same way that a seed is planted, and from it grows fruits and flowers, or all kinds of things. Umine itkayam alma. And from those things that are growing out of this light that was planted into the ground, it is from that the world is sustained. The late lach yoma delo nafik mine ba'alma, and there isn't a single day that the world doesn't take from it. Umekayim kula debe zan kuchabrichu alma, and from all of this, that this is how God keeps the world going. I'll stop here. The Zohar goes on a little bit more in other directions, but I wanted you to see this idea of the primordial light, that the world could not exist if, number one, if it was completely revealed. That's one. But it's hidden, and the sparks that are the seedlings that are coming out of it, those are actually the things which are sustaining the world to begin with. So this is serious Zohar. This is what the Zohar is like. The Zohar says all kinds of very fanciful but beautiful, beautiful things that are hard to understand. But this is the essence of the style of the Zohar. So we'll see another section of the Zohar. So Hai or Zarua le kudshabrichu beginta deida noi. So this light that God planted. He planted in the Garden of Eden, in Gan Eden. Va'avid le shurin shurin, and he made it into rows and rows. Al yadoy the high tzaddik, and it was given over to that tzaddik, whoever it is. The ihu ganena de ginta. This is the gardener of the garden. V'natil lahai or, and he took that or. V'zara le zrua dikshot. What does this mean? He planted from this light. Kshot is truth. He planted in it some kind of planting of truth. Va'avid le shurin beginta ve'olid ve'etzmach ve'avid pirin. And again, it came out rows and rows in the garden, and it gave forth fruit. Uminaihu idzan alma, and from it the whole world is nourished. Dichtiv ar zarua latzadik, uchtiv uchegana zerueha tatzmiach. So from the verse in Yeshayahu, that like a garden, its seedlings will sprout. Man zerueha. What is the zeruim? Elu zerue de or kadmaha deihu zarua tadir. This is the light, the original primordial light that is always implanted. Okay, so we've got a couple of major sources regarding this idea of the organuz, there's the light that the child in the womb sees. It's the light that was given to Adam on the day of creation. It's the light that was planted in Gan Eden. So now we're already seeing this theme coming over and over. And so now we're going to look at the next page from Sefer Eitz Chaim. Eitz Chaim is the... Yes, please. Question.
I have a question about the last pasuk that we read.
Yeah.
The gardener of the earth will be also the garden of the light, right?
So who is the gardener?
So that's Adam.
So he refers to him as Hai Tzaddik, that Tzaddik. So I'm not sure who it's referring to, but yes, who is the gardener? But yes, it would seem that it would be that's Adam's job, is to be the gardener, le'ovda u'leshomra. That his job is to cultivate and to protect the garden. So it could mean somebody else. I don't know. This is one of the beautiful things about the Zohar, is it could mean lots of things.
But if it was Adam, it means that in generation after generation, the gardener, the work as a gardener of the light, would keep on going with the generations, right?
I don't know. It's a good question. I think it's a good question. I don't know. I think a lot of what you see in Kabbalah is that everything is a hakdama, it's a sha'ar, it's an introduction, it's a gate, it's a mavo, it's a preface, and it's like, again, also with all these things, with light and the infinite, it's like saying I don't know is probably what you're going to say a lot when you're studying Kabbalah. It's like, what is this talking about? I have no idea. But there are people who do know. Yes, go ahead.
But you also mentioned something about truth, and doesn't we say Torah is the truth?
Torah is truth, yes.
So the truth and the or is in that case connected to each other.
Yes, I think so. I was thinking about that also. That the light, we say Torah or Kiner mitzvah v'Torah or. So Torah is also the light, and there's also a hidden aspect of Torah, that.
It is said in the previous.
Yeah.
It says בהמשך פה, it said, וחולת תרדלן בורייתא בלילה, חתכות רצחיק מהאור גני זה ריתמה שחללון דלן בהם. זה אומר מפורש. If someone studies Torah at the night, then one of this tangle, this string comes and connects to it.
Yes, I wanted to get to that because it's a beautiful section, because we're sitting here learning Torah at night, and when we learn Torah at night, the light shines on you, and the light. So we're feeling some of that, and so we're going to talk about that. Talked about the chut, the string. So this is the next section from the Eitz Chaim. So you were right that Torah is truth and Torah is light, and Torah. So all these things are all interconnected. There's and it can be interpreted in many, many different ways. And the beauty of the Zohar is that the interpretations go on, and it's just like it's a continuing conversation. It's different than the Talmud. The style of the Talmud is, what is this saying, and why, and how does this contradict that, and the Zohar, it's just like you're constantly kind of opening your mind. It's like, what is this? What is it saying? What does it mean? And even when I don't understand what it means, it's like, okay, maybe I just don't understand it now, and maybe I'll have some kind of idea of what it means later on. And so the section we're going to read now is the very beginning of Eitz Chaim. Eitz Chaim is the writings of Rabbi Chaim Vital. Rabbi Chaim Vital was the major student of Rabbi Yitzchak Luria, the Arizal. And the Ari, basically, he took parts of he studied the Zohar. He was born in Jerusalem. He then went to live with his uncle in Egypt, and he spent many years. He was a Talmid Chacham. He wrote a commentary on a tractate of Talmud, and he was a student of the Radbaz, I believe. And what he did, though, was he was on the Nile River for years and years, and he meditated on the Zohar. He meditated on And so a lot of the ideas that that the Arizal gave later on when he arrived in Tzfat, who is his source? His source is Eliyahu Hanavi. So it's like, okay, if his source is Eliyahu Hanavi, well, how exactly am I supposed to argue with that? But one of the things that we're going to see is the classic idea of the Arizal regarding the original light and how God, the term is tzimtzum, how God contracted himself, kaviyachol as it were, to allow for the existence of the world. Do you want to read? Somebody else want to read? Yeah, go ahead.
דע כי טרם שנאצלו הנאצלים ונבראו הנבראים היה אור עליון פשוט ממלא כל המציאות ולא היה שום מקום פנוי בבחינת אוויר ריק, ירקנים וחלל, אלא הכל היה ממולא מן אור אינסוף, פשוט ההוא.
Okay, so the terms here, just realize that when they use terms like ne'etzalim, these are technical terms. So ne'etzal it's related to atzilut. It's between the Ein Sof and the world of Bria. So he says before the atzilut and before the Bria, there was or Elyon Pashut, one very simple, exalted, supernal light that filled all of existence, and there was no place that was empty of this light or that there was some kind of void or space, but rather everything that was this Or Ein Sof Pashut. My daughter asked me, so she's like, who created God? And I'm like, well, who created God? And then who created? She's like, and trying to explain this concept of the infinite. She's like, all right, so did God come and say, like, okay, I'm going to put myself into the world and that's how I'm going to create the world? I said, it's the opposite. Everything is God. Everything is infinite, except according to this, there is a tzimtzum, there is a restriction of the light. The light is what's infinite, and the light is what always existed. But it's the act of creating an empty space that we'll see a little bit more, that is the act of creation. Continue, go ahead.
אלא הכל היה אור אחד, פשוט שווה בהשוואה אחת, והוא הנקודה...
והוא הנקרא.
אור אינסוף, וכאשר עלה ברצונו הפשוט לברוא העולמות ולהציל הנאצלים, להוציא לאור שלמות פעולותיו ושמותיו וכינוייו, אשר זאת היה סיבת בריאת העולמות.
Okay, so when God decided in his will, simple Ritzono HaPashut, to create all of the worlds and Lahatzil HaNe'etzalim, and to have all of the emanations that would bring forth all of his actions, his names, his nicknames, as it were, the letters, and all of this were the reasons for creation. So, yes, go ahead.
Does that mean that the Or was created before the Torah?
The Or was not created. The Or always existed.
Okay, so the Or is older than the Torah.
So this Or, according to the Eitz Chaim, this infinite light is one that existed forever.
Okay.
And that was, before anything else, there was this Or Pashut Elyon. Okay, so then let's do the next one. You want to continue?
Okay. אחר הצמצום הנ"ל, אשר אז נשאר מקום החלל והאוויר פנוי ורקני באמצע האור האינסוף ממש, כנ"ל, הנה כבר היה מקום שיוכלו להיות שם הנאצלים והנבראים ויצורים והנאצלים.
Okay, so all right, so here we have this is where it gets a little complicated. So we do have a translation. Okay, achar had tzimtzum hanal. So I skipped a passage in the quoting of in the text, but where he talks about the tzimtzum. So after this tzimtzum, after this contraction, there was an empty space of air in the middle of the light of the Ein Sof. And here there was already where the creations and formations could be there, as well as those that were made. Okay, so the translation is not very good. Okay, so there was this empty space, okay, and in the middle of the Ein Sof, sort of, they draw it in the text, a circle. Basically, everything outside the circle is Ein Sof, it's infinite, it keeps going, but in the circle is this halal, it's this place that is empty, and from it you could have the Ne'etzalim, the things that come from the world of Atzilut, Nivraim, things that are created, Yitzurim, and Na'asim. Those are the four olamot. If we have another, if I have the opportunity to give another shiur, I think the next shiur would be on the olamot, the four olamot in Kabbalah. Okay, and from that, okay, ve'az himshich min or ein sof. Continue.
קו אחד ישר מן האור העגול שלו מלמעלה למטה, משתלשל ויורד תוך החלל, האור כזה.
Okay, so it says kazeh, because in the text there's actually a picture. It's one of the few texts that have illustrations in it. So what is it? So there was, from the or of the Ein Sof that is outside the halal, a straight line, kav echad yashar, min ha'or, from the light, that goes into the middle of, from top to down, and it goes into this empty space, kazeh. So meaning in the picture, it's basically like a circle, and then there's a line that goes right into the middle of the circle. It doesn't go all the way down, it goes right to the middle. And in the rest of the sections, it discusses why a circle, why not triangles, why not squares, because circles are infinite, essentially. There are no angles, there are no edges to them. But that's, again, this is sort of like where Kabbalah, it's like, there's a theory, and then, is it supposed to correlate with something in the real universe that we know? I mean, physicists will talk about these things. But like the Arizal in the 1500s was already talking about things that, like, today we're beginning to see similar ideas, or we've begun to see similar ideas come about. Okay, continue.
But the claims here are not physical claims.
Right, these are not physical claims, these are metaphysical claims. So these are the Kabbalah, whether it correlates with something in physical reality, that I don't know. But it's an interesting description of the metaphysical universe, from the Kabbalistic metaphysical universe. Go ahead.
אומנם סיום הקו הזה למטה בסופו אינו נוגע באור אינסוף, ודרך הקו הזה נמשך ומתפשט אור אינסוף למטה.
Okay, so this kav doesn't go all the way down to the bottom of the circle, and it doesn't touch the other side of the Or Ein Sof, but it is through this kav that the Or of the Ein Sof is now spreading out in the lower world, the world of the Halal. Okay, go on.
מקום החלל ההוא האציל וברא ויצר ועשה כל העולמות כולם בקו זה, כי אין צינור דק אחד אשר הוא מתפשט ונמשך מימי אור העליון של אינסוף אל העולמות אשר במקום האוויר והחלל ההוא.
Okay, so and in this halal, in this empty space, again, Etzil, Ubara, V'atzar, V'asa, the four olamot of Atzilut, Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya, Kol ha'olamot, all of the olamot, and this kav is like a pipeline, a thin pipeline that like a thin tube or pipe, that goes and connects the Or HaElyon of the Ein Sof, so this light into the olamot asher b'makom ha'avir v'achalal hahu. So what this is basically sort of saying, when we experience the light, or when we get glimpses or sights of this supernal, eternal, ethereal light, it's coming from that one thin point that is coming from the area of the Ein Sof. And from that little thing, we're getting glimpses in our world of the light of the Ein Sof. So it's like we're getting little. Each thing is one, and then later on in Kabbalah, there's sparks, and the light is put into sfirot, and then there's what's called shivirat hakelim, and the lifting up of the sparks, and this is where Kabbalah goes, in its own directions. But the very earliest and most significant, I think, part of the whole experience is understanding that what we're talking about is light. But what this light is clearly we're not talking about the light that we experience it on a human level. I will say that I once had a dream, and I was like, I don't remember what I was dreaming about, but all of a sudden I saw briefly this incredibly bright white light, and it was warm, and it was like poof, popped. It popped like a flash bulb, and then I woke up, and I didn't know. I have no idea. It could have been something going on, malfunction in my brain, but that memory of seeing, even for just one instant, this warm white light was something that I don't think I'll ever forget. And when you hear people talk about near-death experiences, and they talk about, there are many, many stories of people who have been clinically dead and what they've experienced during those times. Usually the first thing that they always talk about is they see a certain kind of light that's brighter than the sun, anything that they could ever possibly imagine. Okay, so that's the light in the outside and in the concept. I brought here at the very end two sections from Rav Kook, and this is sort of going back to that whole section of Nevuah that I originally started with, and that we are ultimately going back towards. So with Rav Kook, the term light plays a very important role. Many of his works are called orot, lights. His name Ra'aya, Rav Avraham Yitzchak HaKohen, Re'iyah means to see. Kook in Yiddish means to look, give a kick, take a look. So for Rav Kook, Or was a very, and he's one of these people, and I think his student Rav David Cohen, they were people who they say that when people saw them, they saw the light shining on them, and it was. But Rav Kook, going back to this rationalist and mystic thing, so Rav Kook, I believe, is sort of the bridge between these worlds, and we'll see it in this section from Orot HaKodesh here. And he talks a little bit both about our physical preparations for the light, and how we bring it together with everything else that we learn in the world besides Torah, but general Chachma. Okay? So Or Harazim HaPhilosophia HaElohit. So the light of the secrets and the godly philosophy. What does he mean by godly philosophy? We'll see in a second. When the body is pure from the defilement of physical desire and sin, masigim or gadol b'simcha elyona. You're able to attain a great light and a highly exalted joy and happiness. Gam mehahaskala haphilosophic ba'elohut. That even in the general philosophical approach to God, one can gain this beautiful light. And later on, he talks about the Rambam as an example of this. Aval kedei lahat'im ta'am simchat kodesh laYerudim, muchrachim la'alot lemidat ha'aliyah shel razei Torah. But he says, in order to get a taste of the happiness of this holiness here below, we have to go up to the level of the razei Torah, the secrets of the Torah. So he's bringing together the mystical and the quote unquote rational. Habefareset kisimla et haor ha'eloki. It covers the light of God, the Kabbalah, the secrets of the Torah, like covers the light like a dress. Ubitoch yifat tifarta tasig dara gam hanefesh habegushemet. Okay, I'm not going to translate. Al keim bedorot ha'achronim shekol kach gavra afilat ha'ta'avot v'kochot haguf hem chalashim ad she'i efshar la'amod neged ha'shikuah ha'chomari. So he says that in these latest generations, that he's talking now in the early 1900s, the 1800s, the period of modernity. We've become more and more materialistic. We've gone further away. Hechreach hu laha'ir ba'or harazim. We have to go and become enlightened with the light of the secrets. Habilti mugbal, that is not bounded. Hamit'aleh b'chofsho hamiromam ad miromim elyonim. That again, like it's all into the eternal spheres. Umashpia simchat gil shel yifat kodesh, and it gives a joy of happiness of holiness. Lanefshot agumot v'nitkaot, to depressed and restrained souls. But someone, nevertheless, someone whose heart is complete in truth. So someone like that should try to, keep their hands pure. And they can taste the clarity of the intellectual delight of God, that is brought out by the reason of the rational capacity of man. It also, the intellect also has its own level of delight of holiness, and through that, so someone who is already tahor, they can also learn some philosophy. They can also some rationality. And they'll take the chol, they'll take that which is secular, and they'll bring it into the holy. Then he'll merit even more how to distinguish between that which is kodesh and chol. And you'll see even more how sweet the godly light that comes from the emanation of holiness of the revelation of God, Asher Besod Hashem L'Re'av, that is in the secret of Hashem to those who fear Him. Be'ein aruch yoter behanoam hamugbal, not even closely compared to the pleasantness that is mugbal, that is constrained of Rashi, that human reason can give. Omnam mi sheyesh bo kedusha pnimit, gam hasechel haenoshi meorer et chaye rucha. But someone who has inside of him kedusha pnimit, internal kedusha, even the rationality or the reason of humanity and mankind can awaken this life of spirit inside of him. Lishov mi ma'ayan hakodesh asher ba'atzmiyut nishmato pnima, that from the well springs of holiness that are in the essence, the depths of his internal soul. U'shi'iva mitachedet hi be'omek atzmiyuta im ha'ara harazit. And this drawing forth comes together and unifies with the depth and the strength of the enlightenment that comes from the secrets of the Torah. V'zot hayta midato shel Rambam. And he says, this is the midah of the Rambam. V'shel yeter gidolei Yisrael kidoshei elyon, and of all of the other great Gedolei Yisrael of exalted holiness, sheshavu et chochmatam ha'elohit al yedei ha'ma'avar shel hasechel ha'enoshi. They used their intellectual human capabilities, asher la metafizika ha'filosophit, in philosophical metaphysics. For the Rambam, that was Aristotle. Today, that would be analytic philosophy or general philosophy or quantum mechanics or astrophysics or other things that would the rational, the reason, the capacity of reason, and that through them shechadru b'tumat rucham min hachol el hakodesh. And like them, we take from the chol and we bring it into the kodesh. So I think we're out of time. The next piece you can look at yourselves is called Hitnotzut Oro Shel Mashiach, the lightning sparks of the light of Mashiach, and how the light of Mashiach is that original light that existed from before, and that will shine to the whole world, and bringing together all of the different pieces, all of the different ideas. This is what Rav Kook does. He manages to take everything that there is and somehow bring it all towards Kodesh, to lifting it up. So here we see just a little bit of, I think just to summarize, we're talking about, we're talking about, Kabbalah for rationalists. So, okay, like, it's good to use our rational side, but it's all about being filled with light. It's all about, Kabbalah is supposed to be learned with happiness, with love, with simcha, chassidut, taught that very, very deeply. This was the whole Torah of the Baal Shem Tov, of the Alter Rebbe, of many of the early Hasidic masters. That it has to be done with joy. It has to be done with love, and that the light. It's that there's the light that's coming down from above, but we also can take our light and we can shine it, reflect it back up above. Questions? Yeah. Yes.
Is it possible to translate, explain that the light of Moshe and the people, they have that kind of light because of they have godly heart, they are pure, and they are obedient to Hashem, and they are the God of man to receive the message, to pass the message to their groups. Is it possible to explain because they have this kind of characters? Because normally,
yeah, so that's a danger. The word charisma literally means a gift from God. And Moshe Rabbeinu is actually a very interesting figure in that he's very different than, let's say, in other religions, like the figure in Christianity and the figure in Islam, where they were charismatic individuals. And Moshe Rabbeinu is not charismatic. Moshe Rabbeinu, he has a stutter. He is constantly running away from God, and he's like, please, anybody else but me. But it's clear that there was something very special and unique about him, and so I think that everybody saw that, and that was why he later had to wear a veil, because the light was shining on him, and when he went up to, when he was gone, they ran to the golden calf because they're like, well, we don't have our leader. What do we do? How are we going to connect to God anymore? And so they say it's not just that the golden calf was that they were worshiping the calf instead of God, but that the calf was sort of the replacement for Moshe Rabbeinu. So that's an interesting thing. But yeah, it's clear that the light that we're talking about is not something that we can describe in physical terms. The only thing that we're going to be able to talk about it is through the use of metaphor, through poetry, through association, through, it's not something that, I think also just the name of Hashem also, Yud Kei Vav Kei, we're talking about an idea that is more than we can express in words. And so the light is something, there was a Kabbalist, Rabbi Yitzchak Sagi Nahor, Rabbi Isaac the Blind. But Sagi Nahor means that he was bright of sight. Because he was blind, he was able to see the light even more clearly, and that's also like an interesting. That's its own thing. Yeah.
The source says or, writes or with aleph the whole time, except when it describes like how I could say it. I'm not so good at it. But I think it was like when it wrote or with ein when it was talking about Moshe Rabbeinu's face, right?
Right. That his skin, or means skin with an ein.
But or like is also like or with aleph is like when it's based on aleph it's like realized. When it's an ein it's like more hidden.
Right.
So
very cool.
Am I like so
the eye? It's the or our skin. It's a good chiddush. So the skin is hiding the light that's really inside of us.
Yeah.
Isn't that nice? I just
agree,
thought of that.
yes.
We only see the skin, but the skin is with the ayin. But inside, behind the skin, under the skin, inside of us, that's where the real or, the or with the aleph.
The heart is lightning. Seems like the Tehillim 119 says that the light from inside coming out.
I think so.
Maybe.
I think so. Okay, thank you all very much. This was really a pleasure. Have a wonderful week.